Hello friends, today I'm going to tell you how to properly open a company in Montenegro. But first, I'd like to invite everyone to check out my website. There, you'll find a huge amount of information about everything related to immigration to Montenegro, how to open a company, how to close a company, obtaining a residence permit, what you can and cannot do, various recommendations on different topics, accounting services, and so on. In my opinion, the website is very useful for anyone seriously considering immigrating to Montenegro. Now, let's move on to opening a company. There are two ways to open a company in Montenegro. The first option, you come to the country, meet with me, and we take care of everything for you. The second option, which I have been recommending to everyone for many years, is to send a power of attorney from your home country, and we will handle everything for you. You will arrive when the company is already established, when the decision from the Ministry of Education is ready, and essentially you can immediately start the process of obtaining a residence permit. Why is this option advantageous for you? There are several reasons. First, sitting in the country and waiting for some time, which is not always short, is simply foolish. It makes sense to go through the initial steps in advance and come here just to get your residence permit. This will speed everything up significantly if the company is open beforehand. Second, foreigners who are allowed visa-free entry to Montenegro are permitted to stay in the country for only 90 days. You already know the timeframes for obtaining a residence permit. I've mentioned them many times. And if you compare the time it takes to process the residence permit with the months you have available, those 90 days, you'll see that if you start the process only after arriving in the country, you will just barely have enough time to submit the documents for the company director's residence permit. And that's only if everything goes quickly and smoothly for them, without any delays, which do sometimes happen. So with the director, you will most likely be able to submit within those 90 days. Although, again, there's no 100% guarantee here. But submitting the application for family members as well within 90 days, if there is a family, is simply impossible because they can only apply for a residence permit after the director has received theirs. Whereas if the company and the notification are taken care of before arriving in Montenegro, then 90 days is more than enough to submit applications for both the director and the family members within that period. That's simply guaranteed. Accordingly, it's in your best interest to get everything done within 90 days. That means opening the company and completing the notification in advance. This is relevant for everyone, including Russians. Up to now, Russians are the only foreigners who can do visa runs an unlimited number of times, that is, leave for a neighboring country, re-enter, and thus stay in Montenegro as many times as they want. But it's important to understand that this is not stipulated in Montenegrin law. Moreover, Montenegrin law states that all foreigners, including Russians, cannot stay in the country for more than 90 days without obtaining a residence permit. Right now, it's simply the local police who are letting us in. In other words, at the border, they just don't pay attention. If someone has stayed there not for 90, but for 100 days or even 200 days, they don't pay attention to that. But sooner or later, and this is just a logical assumption, they might start enforcing their own laws. In fact, it's not just that they might, sooner or later it will happen. Sooner or later, they'll start telling us that once you've spent 90 days in the country, that's it, you have to leave after 90 days. And then after another 90 days, you can come back for another 90 days. And I'll go further. There have already been cases in some MOPs where a person was told you have violated the visa-free stay period in Montenegro, so we cannot issue you a residence permit. Specifically, this happened in the maps of Tivat and Bar. So far, this hasn't happened yet in the map of Herceg-Novi and some other maps. But as I just said, it's only a matter of time before these problems stop being isolated incidents and start happening on a large scale. Once again, you need to get everything done within 90 days. It's in your best interest not to look for trouble. And to do that, you should open a company and complete the notification process before coming to Montenegro. That way you are guaranteed to get everything done within 90 days. If anyone thinks I've exaggerated or misrepresented the possibility of endless visa runs for Russians, you need to read two documents. First, the agreement between Montenegro and Russia on the abolition of the visa regime. You can find the text of the agreement online in Russian. The first article of this agreement states that citizens of the countries that signed it, that is Russia and Montenegro, can travel to the other country, in this case, to Russia or Montenegro without a visa, provided that the duration of their trip does not exceed 30 days. There is nothing in this agreement about unlimited entry and exit. The law on foreigners of Montenegro, Article 8, states that foreign citizens do not have the right to enter Montenegro if they have already stayed in the country for 90 days out of 180. In other words, you can stay for 90 days within a half-year period. This applies to those foreigners who do not have a residence permit or permanent residency. There are no exceptions for Russians in this law. Accordingly, according to the agreements between the countries on visa-free travel, you can come to Montenegro for up to 30 days. In accordance with the law on foreigners, you have the right to do a visa run twice, so that your total length of stay does not exceed 90 days. And after that, that's it, you'll have to wait 90 days before you can come back to Montenegro. Once again, at the moment they are letting us in despite this law, but that won't last forever. So that's it, friends, those are the news. That's why, once again, I urge everyone to be sure to open a company and submit documents to the Ministry of Education before coming to Montenegro, and then, after arrival, immediately start working on your residence permit. You can contact the author of this video with questions about opening and closing companies, obtaining a residence permit, and accounting services. All my contact information is in the description. Goodbye, everyone.